Revolution from Cowork 591 Studios. We are the Bohemian Reformation. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus, co-host Dale Rueber. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for June 24th. Share this podcast with your friends. Like, thumbs up, please. Ladies, help me out here. We talk to Allison Bovy and Allison Brown. We talk about the Jesup Farmers Market a little bit. We talk about the Devil Anse Hatfield. We talk about the top 10 places to vacation in our great country. I'm sure we'll talk about fishing with Dale a little bit. We'll talk about the Jesup Farmers Day that was last week. We look at the Steve Brown Arts Center a little bit, and we talk a little bit about Littleton Free Watermelon Day. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. The long-range vision is to house a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. Artists will be offered accommodations and studio space in exchange for a contribution of labor and maintenance of the buildings and grounds. So we'd like to start the show by talking with Allison Bovy and Allison Brown. Welcome, ladies. So you can say hi.
Hi.
And don't be shy. Dale and I aren't.
No, we don't have anything to be shy about, though. Yes. Our bloom has blown.
It is. Thank you. We know you're in a hurry here, so we will get going. You are so involved. Tell everybody why you're in a hurry here. What do you got? Why do you have to leave here so fast?
About this mid-April this year, we were both cast in Legally Blonde over at the Waterloo Community Playhouse. I am playing Whitney, and
I am playing Pilar.
Okay. Do you know those? Do you remember those from the movie?
No. Is that she went to Harvard, and is that the
Whitney is Vivian's best friend. Vivian is like the
okay. She's the one that went to Harvard had the little dog and everything.
No,
pink
that's Elle.
Oh, that's
Vivian
Elle.
is commonly known as the antagonist. She is the one Warner marries.
Oh, yeah, okay. She was not very nice, was she?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm her best friend. We're not very nice.
You're the bad girl's best friend, okay. And so you're the one that keeps propping her up and, yeah, okay, all right. We don't like her, do we?
And she's Elle's best friend.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And Elle had friends everywhere. She made friends very easily. And you were like a girlfriend, or are you playing one of the parts?
There are 3 girls, and I'm one of them. And so we're kind of like in her head, but like we're also her best friend. So sometimes we like pop out and we can sing and dance and talk. And then not everyone else can see us. But at one point, Paulette does see us.
Oh, okay.
In one of the scenes. But,
all right. Okay.
We just kind of give her advice and stuff.
Okay. And it's a good advice?
Yep.
You think
Sometimes.
so? Okay. Sometimes. Okay.
Occasionally.
How many acts is that play?
It's a 2-act.
2-act play.
Intermission in the middle.
Oh, how wonderful. I like intermission.
It's about 2 hours long.
And was it on Broadway?
It was.
Yeah. Okay. I saw the movie years ago, but I've not seen the play. But,
the musical is a bit different than the movie. The general plot is similar, but the songs kind of change it a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure they'd have to, yeah.
So who else from Jesup is involved in that play?
Hannah Bovy and Carter Rout are both in the ensemble.
Okay, and out of interest, and although I was too shy in high school to be in the play, all my friends were in the play, so I'd go watch them. And then after I got out of high school, I regretted it. So you guys are doing the right thing here. How many lines do you have? How much did you have to learn?
In this show, I only have around 5 lines. It's mostly just singing and dancing and acting parts. Not a whole lot of speaking for me. But in the school show, I was recently just T Moon, which was the lead, and that was upwards of 50.
Wow.
So.
And how many lines do you have, Allison Bovy?
I also only have around 5, but I do get a little bit more singing time with the other 2 girls that are Elle's friends.
Has someone ever taught you a technique for learning lines, or Like, is that something that professionals, teachers would do for a person, or?
Usually when I'm studying my lines, I like to write them down on paper because it helps me to really log them into memory. Or I'll try and write down as much as I can remember and then look back and see what I missed and then try again until I can get it completely right from memory.
And is it helpful to have someone to bounce them off of, to go back and forth with someone?
Very helpful.
I would think so. Yeah, okay. Yes,
Have you ever performed with someone that memorizes everybody's lines, and you watch their face and their lips are moving to everybody's lines? Have you ever done that? Have you ever seen someone like that?
I don't know about lines unless they're in that scene and they are waiting for them to say a line. But it happens a lot in singing because when you have to learn your part in a song, you kind of just naturally learn everyone's. And I see a lot of people backstage and on stage lipping the lyrics too, like a lead singing.
Yeah, I was in some plays as an adult, and I remember standing in the wings ready to go on, and I said, okay, I have no idea what I'm supposed to say when I get out there. And I'd have to have my book, and I'd read that line, I'd just repeat it over and over in my head. So when I would say that first line, then I was good to go. But just standing there, I had no idea what I was supposed to say. It was just, stage fright is a terrible thing. It just really knocks you for a loop.
Well, Dale, believe it or not, that's not why we asked him here today.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they are both involved in other things.
Oh, okay.
Allison Brown is involved in pageantry. Is that what you call it, pageantry?
It is a pageant. It's also a scholarship organization.
Okay.
So.
And Allison Bovy is involved in NATS. It's a singing organization, is that right?
It's a singing competition where I do get money if I win, but I don't think there's a scholarship involved.
Okay. Allison Bovy, let's start with you. How did you get set up with that?
Competition.
Competition, yes. Thank you.
I'm trying to help.
About 4 years ago, around COVID, my vocal teacher, Jessica Saunders, she's here in Jesup, and she also goes up to Corville and teaches. She introduced me to this, and at the time it was online because it was around when COVID was beginning. And so I started singing and recording videos for Nats, and then I do it in the fall and in the spring. And then about 2 years ago, it just became in person. So it was really fun to sing in person. So I sang in the fall, and then I sang in the spring, and then it led me on to going to nationals in Knoxville in about next week.
Where was the local competition?
Where was it?
Yeah.
It's in different places. Last year, I think it was in Quad Cities.
Okay.
Maybe that was this year.
So in these early singing, did you get a critique from these people on ways you could improve, or was it just competition?
Yeah, so when you're done singing as many songs as you sing, then they give you notes on each song, and then you get to fix it and come back and sing again.
Oh, okay.
If you make it on to the next round.
Neat.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry. You're going to Knoxville now.
Yeah.
And
next week.
Is this like the big championship, or is there something past that, or?
Up there, I will sing one round, and then I think I move on to finals. And then after that, I'll see if I win in my category.
Okay. And if you win in your category, is there another step to take then, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Then it just restarts in the fall.
Okay. And can you compete again if you've already won?
Yep.
Okay. And so how long is it till you're 18, or how?
There's different age categories.
Oh, okay.
So, you can do it when you're younger, too. I don't know what the categories are, but there's, young ones, for little kids and, teenagers and, adults in college and stuff.
Okay. And the music, is it piano, or is there a disc that you play, the background music, or? When
it was virtual, then I think it had to be a piano track. But then when it was in person, you gave sheet music to a pianist, and then you rehearsed with them a few times before you performed.
Oh, okay.
You perform with them.
Okay. Well, Allison Brown, let's have you tell us about your scholarship competitions. How did you get started with that?
I started around February getting my paperwork together for a local competition in Davenport for the title of Miss Great Rivers Teen. You compete in interview, on-stage question, talent, fitness, and evening gown. So after all of those were done, that was just a one-day competition. I was crowned Miss Great Rivers Teen, and I continued my community service, and I continued rehearsing my talent and evening gown and fitness walks, and I took it to the state competition last week, which lasted a whole week, and we competed every single night in a different category, and then the very last night moved on to finals.
Okay.
So you've got to tell me, what is the fitness competition?
We discuss how we maintain ourselves being Miss America fit with our diet and exercise and how we keep heart healthy to ensure the best quality of life. And we model for Rebel Wear, who sponsors us.
And what kind of clothing is that?
I wore an athletic skirt and athletic tank top.
Oh, okay. Is it a company that makes it just for women?
Yes.
Okay.
I wore it in red for women's heart health.
Okay.
Okay. And go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. This second competition, where was it held at? Where you were gone for a week?
It was held in Davenport.
Oh, still in Davenport. Okay. And is this part of like the Miss America group, or do they sponsor this, or?
It is part of the Miss America organization. So
Okay.
whoever was crowned Miss America's Teen is going to go on and compete for Miss America's Teen in January.
Okay. And is that where the person has resigned here recently, or?
No, that is the Miss USA
That's a
organization.
whole different organization.
They go on to Miss Universe.
Okay.
Their organization doesn't compete in the same things that we
Okay.
do.
All right. So,
What song did you sing for talent?
I sang World Above from The Little Mermaid, the musical. And I sang that on preliminary night, which ended up winning me the preliminary talent award. And then I was not a finalist, top 5 finalist this year. However, I did get the non-finalist talent award and performed my talent on finals night.
okay. That's great. That's great.
It is.
You win that award by having the highest scoring talent of the rest of the teens.
Okay. And how many judges?
There were 5 judges.
5 judges. Okay. And-
One of them is a professor of singing at Columbia University.
Oh, okay. And I suppose you got kids coming from all over. Like
All over
big schools
Iowa.
and everything. All over Iowa, yeah. Isn't so? That's quite a feat too.
I was one of 2 from small towns.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Because a lot of the bigger schools have much more, many more music opportunities in school.
A lot more
than a
resources,
small school.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's wonderful then that you did so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's only my first year. We'll
Well,
be
sure.
competing again next year.
Oh, yeah. Like a lot of these things, when you know the routine or whatever, you've been there before, that is very helpful because you're not always wondering about what's happening next. You've already been through it.
It will
so-
be a lot easier
I'm
next
sure.
year.
I'm sure.
Well, I don't know if you know this. Do you guys remember Mr. Brown? You'd have been real young if you
I don't
would have.
think I do.
I don't think I remember.
Steve Brown, he and I would have retired in the end of 2018. So I can't remember what grade you'd have been. That would have been, 6 years ago.
In 2018, I was 10.
So you'd have been probably
A
third
fifth
grade.
grader.
5th grader, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but he had 2 rescue dogs, and he would have loved that you were into working with sanctuary dogs or animal sanctuaries and stuff. What do you do with them?
My CSI is Hands and Paws Supporting Humane Animal Shelters. So I go out to local animal shelters and hold donation drives for things they need so that they can place their money into expanding rather than having to spend it on cleaning supplies so that more animals can have homes. I have been working with the Otter Creek Animal Shelter, and I recently held a donation drive that was very successful. We received about $300 of donations.
That's good. That's wonderful. Yeah. How much do you practice your singing, both of you?
I take lessons with Jessica Saunders once a week and do a lot of rehearsing on my own.
Okay.
I also take lessons once a week with Jessica, and I do practice a lot on my own for nats and for rehearsal for nats.
You have warm-up exercises you do before you sing. You see that?
Yes, they're a little silly though.
Yeah, I know they are. Yeah, I've never done them, but you see them in programs, something about people, they have to do all their warm-up stuff, and I think, is that really necessary? You can't just start.
Oh,
But
yes.
It does work.
It
helps.
very much works.
Okay. You ever get sore throats from singing too much, or does that happen? Your vocal cords are sore?
That
or?
happens more when I don't warm up, actually.
Okay.
Singing on a unwarmed up voice, especially belting, is very damaging for the vocal cords.
Yeah. You hear some of these people, records, they scream in different parts. You know, is that hard on your throat, or does it seem like they do it all the time?
It depends what technique you're using. If they were using improper technique, that would probably be very painful.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I
right.
just think it's wonderful. I think your girls are doing such a great job. And you are, what grade will you be in this fall?
I'm going to be in 10th.
In 10th grade, and you're in 11th, right? Okay, so very young, and so you got a good head start on things. That's wonderful.
So
Very proud of you guys.
Do we need to get you out of here?
What time is it?
It's 5:30, isn't it? Yeah, it's 5:30.
Yes, we should probably head to rehearsal.
Drive
Okay.
careful, please.
Yeah.
Drive
We will.
careful. I'd feel terrible.
Don't get caught in a Ferris wheel or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be terrible.
Thank
All
you
right.
for
Thank
coming.
you very much.
Thank you so much for
This is
having
very
us.
interesting, and good luck with everything.
This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're back, and we're here with Fritz Kies. Welcome, Fritz.
Oh, thanks. Good to be back again.
Is it this your third time?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, you're in competition with the mayor. I think the mayor's been on 4 times. So welcome. Thank you for coming. We wanted to have you back and have you update us on how the park is going.
It's going well. We're almost there. We've pretty much got the final design done. It's just a matter of the main layout is going to be, a circular, a white star on a blue field, which is an homage to the, back in World War II, if you saw aircraft and military vehicles, they always had a star on the side.
Sure.
And on an airplane, it was a white star on a blue field, and then it usually had red stripes, but we're going to have a round circle around that. So that's kind of the design that we're hoping for.
And what made you go with that design?
Just kind of a, like I said, an honor to past veterans and current veterans that fly with or have that on their military vehicles.
That's a great idea. Let's remind everybody where this park is going to be, Fritz.
Down on the corner of 6th Street and South Street, right across from the car wash, and kitty corner from
Casey's or
Casey's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right
And,
behind.
it's a vacant lot, and used to be a house there, and the city purchased it, and then it was their idea to come up with a veterans park, and they approached the American Legion here in Jesup to say, would you help us spearhead this? And we said, of course. So it's like the Titanic. It doesn't move very fast, and but this one isn't going to sink. This one's going to float.
Down, yeah.
This is not going to go down.
Yeah.
We're almost there. We've got the main stones ready. Each one will have a service. The Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, Space Force, and then the Coast Guard will each have their own stone surrounding the white circle, and then the motto of each of the branches of the service will be on the back.
It is, and I'm going to challenge you here. I don't know this. What is the motto of the Space Corps?
It's on my notes.
Yeah, I understand.
They're such a new service.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
And
Do they have a space helmet that they wear in their? Will their guy have a helmet?
Surprisingly, their uniform is very futuristic. They, design, and they have. If you look at the Space Force, it almost looks like the Star Trek from the Next Generation
Oh, right. Yeah.
logo that they have on their shirts.
They wear those tight T-shirts or pull.
And
Captain Kirk almost outgrew his.
Yeah.
But I would not even have thought about the Space Force. If I was building it, what do we? And so
They've only been around.
a few years now. I
for
think.
since 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, how do you off the track, I guess? But how do you get into the space? Do you have? Is there an academy they have?
It actually falls under the branch of the Air Force.
Okay.
It's a department of the Air Force.
Okay.
And they're a specialty branch. It used to be they were, they had their own division within the Air Force, but they were still U.S. Air Force.
Yeah.
And then they split off, and they have a specialized mission, basically to monitor what's out in the upper atmosphere for satellites, rockets, and missiles, and everything like that.
Now,
So
did
they're
you know
very specialty.
The Marines are in the part of the Navy Department.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And they're the men's department.
I've
in the
heard that-
Navy, yeah.
I have heard that one before.
Have you really? I thought I just made that
surprisingly
up.
so, but yes. So, and they both fall under the Department of Defense. But the Coast Guard is its own separate branch, and it's not under the Department of Defense. It's under the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
And back in the day, it used to be under the Department of Transportation. But they are still considered part of the military uniformed services.
Because is that reason because they do not want to have to use federal?
Well, they have a specialized mission. They not only can protect and serve the seas and the coasts, but they have the authority to stop and arrest at sea. The military, by contrast, does not. It's called the Posse Comitatus Act, goes back to 1860 something, and it says that the federal military does not have the authority to stop, arrest, and search and seize civilians. They can do it on a military base, but they cannot do it as part of the general population.
Yeah.
So therefore, they have limited authority and powers when it comes to civilian interaction.
So forgive me here. I'm wandering. I'm going back and forth. Dale's used to this, Fritz.
That's okay.
The Space Force. I know of only one person from Jesup, the Frainer boy, that is in the Space Force.
I was not aware that we had a veteran in the Space Force from Jesup.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very small. It's only like several thousand.
Yeah.
And it's the smallest of the branches now. The Coast Guard used to be the smallest at around 40,000, with the Marines around 175,000.
Right.
I was always amazed because, and now I can't think of the guy's name. I think where we'd have the veteran singing, they'd stand up in their song, and we had a guy from the Coast Guard.
Bob Venom.
Bob Venom, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was the first time I saw it. Holy cow! How did you get from Jesup to the Coast Guard? But I was always amazed by that.
I think we have another, Dan Mount, I believe.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he was with the Scouts, and I met him through that way.
Yeah, and the Coast Guard's on the Mississippi and everything, right? On the rivers.
Not only on the coast, but in the navigable waters within the continental United States and overseas.
Yeah.
They actually have a Coast Guard cutter that is stationed overseas.
Really?
Because I remember
forward deployed. Yes.
talking to somebody that was in the Coast Guard. They were stationed at Guttenberg or Davenport or someplace along the river, and so.
In fact, they do. They are in charge of the navigational buoys and the maintaining of servicing of them in navigable waters within the U.S.
What is the purpose of the vessel overseas?
Going back to the difference between the Coast Guard and the Navy.
Yeah.
The Navy can protect and defend, but it cannot stop, search, and seizure a civilian vessel without proper authorization. And if you have a Coast Guard, it has that capability of doing that and boarding another vessel.
See, the founders didn't want the federal military interfering or trying to take over or whatever. They were very cautious about the military having too much say.
Right.
And so they made strict guidelines of what, because the
Military is
is not supposed to operate within the.
Civilian,
Yeah.
law enforcement.
Yeah.
We are considered prepared for armed conflict,
Yeah.
and that does not interact with civilians.
Yeah.
Now, they do have the authority for a military to be put into the capability of doing arrest and search and seizures only under federal authority by the president under a state of emergency.
Yeah.
Very rarely happens.
When I was at Camp Pendleton, President Nixon had a house in San Clemente, which is right next door to Camp Pendleton, and he was involved with a lot of people protesting and picketing and demonstrating and this sort of thing. And they actually had a scenario where if the civilian police could not handle things, that some Marines would go in and actually have one of them little cards that they gave us all that told us when we could shoot a civilian and when we could not. And I just thought, but we never had to do it. But it was very interesting that they did plan for that in case they needed more assistance than they had.
Yeah, it's called the Insurrection Act.
Okay, yeah.
That they can use federal military for arresting, stop, search, and seizure. Now, that being said, the National Guard is another animal. Because when they are not under federal service, they are under the state governors control. So a National Guardsman, you have the Air National Guard and the Army National Guard. They're administered by the Air Force and the Army, but they fall under the control under the governor. So when there's a flooding, the governor activates the National Guard, and they have the authority as a National Guards person to do traffic control, stop, arrest, and seize and detain if necessary when they're under the state control. That's considered called Title 32.
Right.
And then Title 10, federal Title 10 means they go on to federal act service when they're mobilized under the federal authority. Then they become part of the Army or the Air Force, and then they no longer have that authority. It is they're under federal orders.
Yeah.
Well, let's go a little different direction. What about like troops that service the United Nations? Because Korea was an example.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But there's a lot of different countries. How did they decide what troops will service the United Nations?
That's under armed conflict. So it's not dealing directly with the civilians. It was armed conflict against another state or nation state's military. Mm-hmm. So the president has the authority to send the military without a state of war declared by Congress. And they've been doing that since the 50s. There was no formal declaration of war against North Korea. There was no formal declaration of war by Congress against North Vietnam. There was no formal declaration of war when we had Grenada back in 1983, but they authorized the use of military force. Well, I'm not quite up to speed on it anymore. That was part of my job when I was still an active reservist doing the disaster response. And
so Congress really gave up a power.
Yes.
To save their own neck, or so they wouldn't be responsible, or what?
I don't know that answer.
Okay, because they gave that power, and I think personally too much power to the president as far as sending troops.
Yes, that power was given to the president under the federal use of military force.
Yeah, but I mean the Constitution, though, that power to declare war is in Congress.
Yes,
and the president can ask,
and he has the authority to use military force.
Yeah,
if he so chooses.
Now, yeah,
without a declaration of war.
Yeah, without
by
a declaration
Congress.
of war. Yeah,
yes.
See, and so we've been on a lot of these little things, and
yeah, we could talk about that one.
Yeah, I know.
On another,
but just,
whole nother topic.
Yeah, they put all the responsibility on one person instead of. It's easier if the nation is sending you to war. That's one thing, but if the president's sending you to war, that's another thing. See?
Yes.
And when Congress sends you, that's the whole. They represent the whole nation, and so. I just think you feel a little bit about what you're doing, I guess, instead of just, one guy's mad, or one guy doesn't want to give up, or one guy doesn't want this or that, and so he keeps sending people even though he knows he's going to lose. So, okay.
So Fritz, let's remind our listeners how they can help support this new park.
Okay, there was a mailing that went out to hopefully everyone in the Jesup area. They used the mailing list from the campaigns that the Fire Association, the Jesup Fire Association used, and the Ambulance Association. They'd send that hopefully to everyone within the area that they cover.
Yeah.
And so they should have received a brochure. And if they did not or misplaced it, they still can get another one. They can go to City Hall during regular hours, and City Hall has plenty of brochures in there. And I just do want to say a thing about the purchasing of the pavers. There is actually extra room on the pavers. They only showed like there's 13 little blocks or spaces. If you need to go and add a few more letters, you can up to 18.
Oh.
That was a misprint on that. So there's some people saying I can't put all of my veterans' name on one line, and so I have to put the first name and then last name if they have a very long last name.
Yeah.
So there is still a possibility that they can put the whole name on the first line.
Yeah, okay.
So there was just a little miscommunication between that and the printer and when it was initially done.
Took me a little while to figure out how I was all going to fit.
Right. Oh,
but it worked out. I think it looks really good the way I got it. But it's symmetrical. See.
Yeah.
But there, I think it was Coley maybe that told me that there's an armory or in Detroit where you can get some kind of military
surplus
structure of some kind.
Yeah, we've requested, and since it's on city property,
Yeah.
The city has to do it. And we did this last year. And we don't know how long it's going to take. We don't know what type of surplus military equipment we will get. It could be an old howitzer cannon. It could be a tank like you see over next to the river behind the Wapsie-Pennington Mill. I've seen helicopters on posts. I've seen aircraft on post. Obviously, we don't have that big of a room to put a large aircraft. If we did get a submarine, an excess submarine, I think all we could put was the conning tower and the periscope coming up. That would be about all the more room we could fit.
Yeah. And what Coley was telling me is it's our responsibility to transport that wherever we get, and it's hard to budget because we don't know what we're bringing or how heavy it's going to be or how much truck it's going to take. And
exactly. We've had some people approach us saying if it needs a large transport vehicle, then they would be willing to assist.
Oh, that's
great.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's great. And I understand you have to keep track. There's a guy in Illinois. He was a colonel in the National Guard, and he was telling me that every year they send out a thing, or you have to say, okay, where's the plane we gave you? So, well, it's still in the park where you put it, even though it hasn't flown for 50 years. You have to account for that every year. Is that accurate?
I think that was on the form that you have to. It's still property of the U.S. government.
Yeah,
it's basically on permanent loan. And you just have to account saying we still have it. It's still here.
Okay. Yeah.
And that would be up to the city's responsibility.
Right.
Well, it's nice that they're being so, because you hear all about the accounting of the federal government, how they lose things all the time and so. But.
It's just like our ceremonial rifles with the American Legion. When we do military funerals and do the rifle salute at the gravesite or outside the church or wherever we do it, those rifles do not belong to us. They still belong to the federal government.
Yeah.
And we have to do an inventory and send it in every 3 years saying, yes, we still have these, and yes, we are still using them.
Yeah.
It's a similar concept.
Yeah, because some of those M1s they were saying are quite valuable now, and when they go up for auction or whatever, that they're...
Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah, they can, depending on the make. There are some that were manufactured not by an armory, but...
what do you think of Colt or Winchester, Remington, that sort of thing? And then you see one that's made by Sears or whatever, you go, whoa,
there is Sears.
Montgomery Ward,
And Massey Ferguson, not International Harvester, that's what I'm trying to think of.
All right.
We have one that's stamped International Harvester on there. So they employed, in the war effort.
Oh, sure.
Manufacturing companies to start doing,
rifles. That's interesting.
Yes.
And they still do that way because even like M16s had many different stamps on them from different companies. You would think they would have just been from, I suppose they just put it out for bid and, people bid different ones. And sometimes a bidder will farm it out, to a subcontractor, that sort of thing too. So, but it's just very interesting to see the names on those weapons.
So the rarer ones are worth more.
Yeah.
15 years ago, you could have purchased one for $300-400, and now they're well over $1,000 each if they're in working order.
Yeah.
And then
so is yours open at the end and the muzzle?
Yes.
Okay, they don't plug them or anything.
They have that's called blank firing adapters.
Yeah, okay.
They're put on there so that you have to have so much pressure to come back and operate the receiver to.
Yeah, that was the problem is the blanks.
Yes.
And so they were having to eject it manually each time. And so,
yes, and so
do you guys do that or?
They have blank firing adapters so that they cycle the receiver so that it loads another one, so you can fire 3 times in a row instead of have 2.
Yeah.
Now, the old Springfields were bolt action, and those were manual.
Yeah.
Fritz, you talked about a committee. Who are some people on the committee that's working with you?
Okay, several members of our Legion post, John Crawford, Krista Leach, Daryl Maines, are some off the top of my head. Clark Winter, he's been on that, but he's had some health issues, so he hasn't been able to help us out too much lately. And then we also have Christian and Reed Barco. They're in the Scouts. And so they've also been helpful in giving ideas. And obviously Coley and Mike Fetkether from the city have been on the planning committee.
Okay.
So like I said, we're very close. We've got the stones. We just have to get the final design on our main stone that will be the centerpiece. And that is the biggest expense we're expecting. It's,
Does that professionals do that kind of work for you, or like the,
yes,
the
we're
design?
going through a monument company.
Okay.
And they've done other veteran park or monuments with other places. So they have experience. They've been helpful in giving us ideas, and then they send me a picture of what we expect to see, and then the committee looks at it and agrees yes or no, and that's why we're still in the final stages of choosing our final main stone.
Yeah. You have to be careful. I mean, we had a church window, and people in Philadelphia drew it up and sent it up, and we said, yeah, that looks nice up there. We don't have too many mountains like that.
So we want to get this right.
Yeah, and, I'm sure you do.
We're only going to do it once.
A real education, all the different things that have to come together, and all the different groups and people you have to contact to get it all. I think it's quite an endeavor, but it's wonderful you guys are doing all this.
Yeah, so. we anticipate we probably have 60 or 70 paver stones ordered already.
Yeah.
And like I said, the benches, we have more benches, 8, possibly 9 people have expressed interest in putting benches. We have room. I was just working on this afternoon. We think we can easily put in 16 based on the sidewalk and then the paver.
Yeah. So it's going to be a nice size then. You think about some of the parks around.
The main circle, we anticipate being, about 48 feet. And,
how big are those benches, Fritz?
4 feet.
4 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
And I suppose you still could use some cash, though, because you really don't know.
There's always room for donations because, as you probably are aware, the cost of concrete has really, really increased in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's the unknown factor.
Sure.
Along with, we would have to put a concrete base in for whatever military surplus vehicle we get, which we don't know what we're going to get. The long-term plans, we'd like to put a shelter down there in the northeast corner of the Veterans Park, so that if people want to come down there and just hang out and have a little picnic, they'll be able to do so.
Okay.
There'll be a parking lot, and hopefully we'll accommodate 4 to 5 cars, and so people can pull in there and easily see the park itself without having to park out on the highway or across the street and worry about the safety of people coming to visit and use it.
Well, it sounds really good.
So and eventually get that done, and then hopefully have some landscaping done.
Oh yeah.
And then that might be part of one of the Eagle Scout projects with.
So it's one of it's an opportunity there for Eagle Scout projects, and it sounds like there would be. So that's great.
Well, Fritz, thank you so much for coming in, and hopefully as it gets closer to finished, we can get you in one more time.
I look forward to it, and we will have brochures out at Farmers Day this year. I'd like to get a little plug in. The Lions Club, the raffle that we have, the little motor scooter, we've been selling raffle tickets for. All proceeds from that will be going towards the Veterans Park, and I think Mickey D's selling pizza down there. He's going to give a portion of his proceeds to the Veterans Park.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Miller is too, isn't he? Or
yes, Curtis Miller is. They're having some.
Maybe I shouldn't say that if it's not true, but I had heard that he was doing that too.
Curtis and Krista Leach. And Krista, like I said, she is also on the Veterans Park Committee. Yeah. I think I mentioned her name.
You did. You did.
And I apologize if I forgot something.
You always said it's so easy.
Speaking of Farmers Day, I need to mention last week I said the Lions Club runs the funnel cake. And it's the Farmers Day Committee. Where were you, Dale, when I needed you? I
will agree with you, Jim. They are delicious.
It's amazing when people say that they eat one a year. And they're nice. They're fit people. They look at you and say, I just eat one a year, but I do love it. So
and I've been told the powdered sugar that'll sprinkled on top is diet powdered sugar.
No calories.
No calories.
Yeah.
So will the city council have to approve this design, or is it your committee can approve the design?
They pretty much already approved the design.
Okay.
It's just to finalize. Once we have everything done, we will give it to the city and show them this is what the final
then you'll
is.
Publish it at that time.
Yes.
Hopefully, okay.
Yeah. And hey, we'll put something in the paper, Facebook, and Bulletin Journal, since unfortunately we don't have the Citizens Herald anymore.
Okay.
That's definitely.
Well, thank you for all your work. I'm sure you've done an awful lot with this, and
I get several phone calls a week.
I bet
so
you
I'm
do.
happy to answer them and give people advice on what they should do on the pavers.
Sure. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me in.
Thanks a lot, Fritz. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber. We're back. Thanks to our guests tonight, Allison Brown and Allison Bovy and Fritz Kies.
Good interviews.
great
nice,
interviews.
a little different from each one, but both important stuff and good people to talk to.
You know, the thing I like about all three of those people is they're incredibly positive people.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I mean, happy to be around all of them.
Yeah.
There's a book by John Gordon called The Energy Bus, and from that book come 10 rules. We have an avid listener, Katie Belvance, and she's incredibly positive. And Katie listens every week. One of our two listeners. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah. We were talking actually about some things that she heard last weekend, and I wanted to share this with our listeners. This comes from John Gordon's book, The Energy Bus, and these are called the Energy Bus Rules. So rules of the bus.
Okay.
My mother was a school bus driver.
Was she really?
She had bus 38.
Okay.
Drove the Elma route.
Did you ever ride with her?
I did.
Okay, and how did she do?
First time I rode with her, I stood up on the bus. She pulled it over until I sat down. The rest of the kids were angry. They said, "Sit down. We want to go home." So, but anyhow, I took a little energy away from that bus that day.
I bet you did, yeah.
Yeah. But these are the Energy Bus Rules by John Gordon.
Okay.
This was made by I believe Dwayne Foster. He made this bookmarker up. We used to have a book club in school where a number of us teachers would get together on Wednesday mornings at 7:00, and we'd talk a half hour.
Oh, okay.
And then the last couple of years that I taught, we invited students that wanted to come.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
But The Energy Bus was one of those books that we read, and I thought I would read this for Katie. Rule 1, you are the driver of the bus. Okay, pretty simple rule.
Well, yeah,
you control your own life.
Yeah, but some people don't know that.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. The second rule, desire, vision, and focus move your bus in the right direction. Desire, vision, and focus. The third rule, fuel your ride with positive energy. So if you're negative, the bus isn't going to run well.
Yeah.
Fourth, invite people on your bus and share your vision for the road ahead. So Dale, do you share your goal with people, or your goals with people?
Actually, no. And my wife would say I have no goals. She used to ask me, what are your goals? I don't know. I just, I'm very happy just living the way I'm living, and I can't, I don't want to be president, or I don't want to be, I don't know. I just my goals are pretty simple, I guess. Just stay alive and have fun and be healthy, and and again, but I don't work too hard at those things either. They just seem to happen, and so I don't know.
How you work at them, Dale. You do. You're a positive person that exercises. You are involved in our community. You work at it.
Well, I guess, but you can always find people that are doing so much, and you think, geez, I'm a real slacker. But but I like to be positive, and I do get negative sometimes. Sometimes I get very a little depressed about political situation or what's happening in the world, or it bothers me that if you look down through history, all the people that get killed and everything because of individuals' greed or ambition, and it's never gotten any better. We've never gotten over that. It's never gotten any better, and so there are kids all over the world starving. Don't have a home, don't have any food, and a lot of it's political reasons, or somebody wants to control land and somebody else wants to control the land, and the poor people that get in the middle. And I don't mean
that's all right.
I'm getting all depressing here, but I agree. You should stay positive, though.
Yep. Don't waste, number 5, don't waste energy on people that don't want to get on your bus.
Yeah.
If people don't want to be around you, don't waste energy on those people.
Yeah. Take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And some people won't do that. and they irritate me.
You're right. You are right.
Yeah. So
number 6, post a sign that says "No energy vampires allowed" on your bus.
right, okay. There'd be like people that suck the energy out of you.
Yeah.
With their behavior. Yeah.
Number 7, enthusiasm attracts more passengers and energizes them during the ride. So be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Number 8, love your passengers. Number 9, drive with a purpose. So I have a purpose.
Yeah. Know where you're going.
Yep. And all 3 of our guests tonight are driving with a purpose.
Yeah, I think so. And those 2 girls, I know Allison Brown better because of she attends the same church that I do, and I've seen her in programs, and she's just a fantastically talented girl. And you can say, I don't know how good you have to be wonderfully successful in the singing business, but she appears to be well on her way as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
She just has a lot of talent. I don't know the other girl as well, I'm sorry to say, but I'm sure she's doing well also. But it's you think about it though, how good you have to be and how lucky you have to be to be successful, like in show business or in because it sounds like she'd like to be in Broadway musicals and that sort of thing is what her goal is, I think. And I wish her all the best because thousands and thousands of girls all with the same dream. They all end up in New York City, and it's a tough battle.
Yep, they are. And we wish those 2 young ladies much success.
Yep.
Number 10, have fun and enjoy the ride.
Right.
That is both of us. I think agree with that one wholeheartedly.
Oh, yeah.
Dale.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have taught for 35 years without having fun at what I did.
Yeah, you have to have fun. And I worry now because it seems like now you read about they're putting more restrictions on teachers as far as what they're supposed to say and what they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to teach and this sort of thing. And a lot of times it's the little dumb things that just happen that's what kids remember the most and what they get out of your class. And so I always thought, try to have a lot of enthusiasm and try to have fun and have the kids laugh. And so that was always good. I always kidded, Tony Powell's son, Matt.
Right.
I always say, "Oh, Matt," I says, "you're going to go far because you're the only one to understand my jokes." Because every day I had a joke or something, he would smile and laugh, And his mother would say, "Yeah, he came home and said he remembered this." But I said, "Well, he's the only one that did, But I knew he did, so I kept throwing him out there. So great kid.
So that is for those of you interested. That the Energy Bus. There are a number of copies in our community. I know the library has a copy of that. I know the school has multiple copies of that. I know a number of the teachers in our community have a copy of that. I have a copy somewhere, Mr. Rueber, at my house.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested, let me know and we'll reach out and get you a copy.
I made a note, and this kind of goes along with what you've been saying. But I was talking to Jeff Gerhardt, and he was telling, he says, "I was so glad I ran into you," he said, "because I was talking to another old wine kid, or I don't know if he's old wine, but another guy, and somehow my name came up. And the guy said, oh, if you see him, if you tell him thank you," he said, "at UNI, I was worked in the dorm as a head resident. But it's this kid said he was down about something or other, and I talked with him about elementary education and how they're looking for men in elementary education. That might be something he wanted to consider. And he said he did change his major. He was an elementary teacher and principal for 30-some years, just loved every minute of it, and it was all because of what I had said to him. And I think, well, I don't remember the conversation. I don't remember the kid. Yeah. But what I do, the point here is that you never know what's going to come back to you years later, or how something you said affects someone's life. You just never know. And so you need to be aware that when you're talking to people, you might be influencing their life for good or for bad, and you should try to be on the good side. But I thought, I said, well, I'm so glad, because you don't get a lot of good positive feedback. But I was so glad that Jeff told me the story.
Oh, yeah.
It just was a wonderful feeling.
That was. I'll bet you it was. Yeah. I'll bet you it was. We'll have to have Mr. Gerhardt on sometime.
I think that would be nice. We'd have to talk to him about his language. So he got a little loose since he quit teaching, I think. So.
He says heck a lot, I'm sure now. Yeah.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Dale, you mentioned you had some Jesup news there that you wanted to talk about.
I wanted to remind people that Lunch in the Park is back, and the next one that is coming up will be July 11th, which is a ways away yet, but they're having chef salad and watermelon. They're kind of stealing your watermelon.
Oh, they are. Good for them.
This is by Troop 21, which I'm assuming is a scout troop. And they're doing three of them. They're doing July 11th, they're doing August 1st and August 8th. And then there's the Fairbank Elementary School is doing one on July 18th, which is nice, I guess, to get them involved. Jesup Bible Fellowship is doing one July 25th. And then August 1 and August 8th is the Troop 21, the Scout Troop again. And so it's nice. We went down and had the potato bar that the Friends of the Library did, and it was good. And so the next one is July 11th, the chef salad and watermelon. So, but I'm assuming Scout Troop 21.
All right.
So that's coming up. And I just wanting to remind people about the Littleton Watermelon Days, which is coming up on July 27th.
Yes.
And that's getting pretty close.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Geez, I better start organizing.
Start watering those watermelon plants and so. But so that's coming up in July 27th. So hope everybody will come out and participate in that too. So
Okay.
That's only Jesup news I have. But you see, Willie Mays died.
I saw that
yesterday. I think he was 93 and one of the greatest baseball players ever. And I was thinking how fortunate I have been because if you love baseball, but I was 10 years old in 1957. So I got to see Willie Mays play, Duke Snider, Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams, Stan Musial, all those great pitchers, all the way through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Huge numbers of Hall of Fame members, great baseball players, because of television.
Oh, you saw them on TV?
Yeah, I saw them on TV, yeah. The only one I saw in person, I saw Mickey Mantle his last year. I was stationed out in California, and he was playing in Anaheim. The Yankees were playing in Anaheim. And so some of us went from El Toro to see him play. And it was his last year. He didn't do real well. But just the idea of seeing him out there on the ball field was quite fascinating. So, but it's just a lot of great players. And you see, like Willie Mays, they're starting to die, But he started like in 1951, I think, was his first year with the Giants. And he played a year or two. And then he had to go in the Army for 2 years. And then he came back and played in New York and then, of course, out in San Francisco. But seeing him die just makes you realize just how long I've been around, and all the great players I've seen. And you just, my problem now is I can't think of one player that I would actually say, oh, I'm going to go see that game because he's playing today or he's pitching today. And there's not a whole lot of players right now that I feel that way about. So
I would, you talk about that. I would like to see Aaron Judge, or I would like to see the Japanese player that plays for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I saw Aaron Judge play.
You did?
Yeah. And I think it was in, I think it might even have been in Philadelphia. I don't know. But all these Yankee fans come and they have the black robes and the white Judge's wig on. Just the craziest thing. And we're sitting there, and it was a rain delay, so we're waiting for the game to start. And you see all these people in this big eating area. And my wife goes, "What are those guys doing?" I said, I have no idea. And then I find out, I bet it's for that Judge kid. So they're dressed as judges. Yeah. I think it was his second year, maybe even his first year playing. But so I have seen him.
Oh, cool.
So, but I haven't seen the Japanese guy. But,
I really want to see him. I'd like to see him a game where he pitches. I don't know if he'll come back. He's still recovering, although he's hitting this year. He's still coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
They paid him for pitching and hitting, though.
Yeah.
So but I have a top 10 list, and baseball is on that top 10 list.
All right.
Top 10 vacations in the United States, Dale. Okay. I'll go 10 to 1. Okay. Number 10, you got to take your children. Parents, take your children to Washington, D.C.
Okay, I would agree with that.
Okay, that's number 10. Number 9, the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Okay.
I have not been there. Have you been there?
I haven't.
Okay. I've flown over it, and they always say, if you look out the right side window, you
Yeah.
see it. I'm always on the left side, so yeah.
Stay away from the edge.
Yeah, I don't want to tip the plane over.
Yeah. Number 8, the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, I would not have thought of that. So.
Yeah, my parents took me to that when I was in high school, when I was a freshman. Number 7, a Division I football game of some kind. Number 6, the coast of Alabama. It is beautiful.
Oh, on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, on the Gulf
okay.
Coast. But
I
the
wouldn't have
coast
thought
of
of that either.
Alabama, I
Yeah.
mean, everybody wants to go to Florida or the Pacific or, out west, or the Atlantic out east. The Alabama coast is really cool. Number 5 is Yellowstone. Number 4, yeah, I know you've been there, Alaska.
Yeah.
Number 3, a Minnesota lake to fish.
I'd like to do that someday.
You're not doing it this week, huh?
No, not this week. No.
Number 2, a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah.
I would like to see the Yankees and the Dodgers play.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a good game. Over on the Field of Dreams or something.
Oh, that would be
That'd be
neat.
great. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be great?
Yeah. And number 1 is the Incline in Manitou Springs in Colorado.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
It is. It steps up a mountain. It's a little bit over a mile. Goes up 4,000 feet.
Okay.
And it's incredibly hard. Runners use it to work out, but going up 4,000 feet in elevation is tough. But Manitou Springs, right around Colorado Springs, in there is beautiful.
Okay.
And I love Manitou Springs. Even last time I was there, it's got touristry has gotten out of control.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Did you make the climb when you were there?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
It's I've done it twice. There were some guys my age that were running up, running down, running up again.
Yeah, don't you hate those people?
Yeah. I didn't push anybody down.
Well, that's good. You're a polite man. See?
Yeah. So that is the top 10 vacation spots in the United States. So where would you say would be your number 1 place? Where would you recommend people go?
Well, I know Arizona is nice. Sedona, Arizona, have all those red cliffs and everything, and there's things there. But boy, I don't know where I would recommend. I really just enjoy, going to Minnesota, where it's not real heavily populated. You can fish. I probably have enjoyed that as much as anything we've done. But if you have kids that are real big Laura Ingalls Wilder fans, they have these pageants in De Smet, South Dakota, and one in Walnut Grove, Minnesota, that we took our kids to. And they are very well done. And you can see the trees the Pa planted on the road and everything like that. But I saw a poster over in the library, the one in De Smet is still going. And they have the dates of it over there. And so I know they have a big prairie fire scene, and they got the jets of flames coming. They must have a gas thing out there or something. I don't know. But the flames are flying all over the place, and it's really... But that was something really... If you look, there are tons of things out there to go and see.
There are.
I know my kids travel. They see things that, gee, I didn't know that was there. And so I should just follow them around.
Yeah. This is T. Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We would like to thank our sponsors, as always. Reyes Concrete, the Littleton Lounge, the Third LLC, the Littleton Chatham Historical Society, Laces in Independence, Joe and Judy Olson, great supporters of the Arts Center, the Independence Bulletin Journal, and John Klotzbach does a great job of putting stuff in the paper for the Arts Center.
I saw his mother died.
Yeah, his mother passed away.
Yeah.
The Derek's Repair LLC. Derek is always doing stuff for the Arts Center. Keith Bickert, Jacobson Fabrication and Repair LLC, great supporter of Littleton Free Watermelon Day. Even Events and Rentals. Our mayor also provides tents for the Watermelon Day, Boyd's Food Truck, Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. You could have got them at Farmer's Day, and you'll be able to get them at Littleton Free Watermelon. Dream Chaser Acres, Bobby Leach and Farm Bureau Financial Services provides the Arts Center insurance. M&M Bakery in Lawrence, Kansas, and finally Zach Knutson down at Innovative Wealth Management has always been a great supporter of the Arts Center. The Arts Center is a 501c3 that welcomes donations. Or if you have any idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call me at 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber and our producer Blake Tempus. Thanks as always to Kelly C. Haas for letting us use Co-work 591 Studios. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day, and remember, each day is about little victories.